Today, I want to talk about whether you should be a mother. Hi, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, we do motherhood and lifestyle content from a classic and traditional perspective. So I'm really happy to have you here. And if you are interested in seeing more content like this, make sure to subscribe. In today's video, I want to talk about whether or not you should be a mother. I've seen this content going around. There's been a question of whether or not women should be mothers. Is it a good idea? Should they, take this giant step in their lives and actually approach parenthood, motherhood? And I'm going to give a controversial answer. Not controversial for me, controversial for the world, which is yes, you should be. And there's a lot of good reasons for why. It's not just about how happy and good it'll make you feel and how it will bring you the most joy it's ever brought you. And yeah, it will bring you the highest highs you've ever had in your life. But more than that, we have a responsibility as people to live our lives for more than just ourselves and to live our lives for more than just today and whatever we want to do. So I want to talk about that. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Make sure to drop a comment down below, like this video, and let's just get into it. So the reason that I'm actually making today's video is because I saw Raw Beauty Christy, who I really like her channel. She does a lot of stuff on there, talking about motherhood, talking about her mental health struggles, but also talking about the beauty of motherhood, how much she's changed and how much she's grown. And I watched a video on her channel about whether or not you should be a mother, and she took the question seriously, and I appreciated that. But ultimately, we come down on opposite sides of the aisle. If you think that being a mother is something that is a choice, in the sense that you could do it, you could take on this massive burden, and you could take on the massive responsibility of another person's life, or you could just continue to live for yourself and travel and party it up and do all of these things that I think are not what life is for, are not what life is truly about, then you will say that, well, maybe you shouldn't be a parent. Maybe you shouldn't be a mother. I believe, though, that motherhood is what life is for. That if you don't choose to put other people ahead of yourself, and if you don't choose to live your life for the purpose of raising the next generation, then you're just living a hedonistic life and one that is only for here and now. And that's, honestly, it's sad. And I understand the concept. If you don't believe in God, if you think this is all there is, then why would you? Why would you want to have children? Why would you want to spend your days doing what can often be burdensome, what can often be mundane or boring? But if you know that there is something greater, and you have a greater purpose, not just for the afterlife, but you yourself have a deeper purpose and way to fulfillment, then motherhood is kind of necessary. Now, of course, there's the caveat. What if I can't have children? This video is not targeted at people who want to have children and can't, or who want to be married and aren't, and so can't start a family. Of course not. Of course, there is value to singlehood. There is value to those who can't have children. And I still believe that people in those positions should be taking a role and a part in the future generation, whether it be fostering or adopting, or whether it be just being involved in your community and being involved in your nieces and nephews' lives. I think that that is super important. But what I'm really talking about are the people who are kind of selfishly questioning whether or not they want to have children at all, treating it like a choice to be made, something they can just ignore. They can just put off their fertility forever and always, because who cares? They might as well stay hot and fit and focus on, honestly, everything that's just not important. We live in a society that basically says, do whatever you want. Do what makes you happy. Do whatever you think makes sense for you. I'm gonna do what I wanna do, and you do what you wanna do. And obviously, at the end of the day, I'm never going to walk up to someone who's chosen something different and tell them to their face I think they're doing something dumb, or not have a relationship with them, or not be able to converse with them. Of course not. But I do think that there are choices in life that are better, and there are choices in life that are worse. We are reading the book Conservatism by Yoram Hazony for my book club on Substack. Shameless plug, check it out if you haven't already. It's where you can get my exclusive content. And in the book, Yoram Hazony talks about how we have kind of created a society that's all about how equal everyone is. And what he means by that is that every choice is equal. If you decide to go into the army and fight for your country, that is as valid as any other career you could choose. But what that means is that the jobs that we choose to do because they earn us respect, now don't earn us respect anymore because everything is equal. Nobody is better for having done something that is hard or important or worthy. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. I mean, there are so many things that we choose to do as people, and obviously we don't do it for everyone else. That's not the point. But there are things that we choose to do as people because they are worthy of respect. And when we take that respect away, of course, you see people just saying any choice is valid, who cares? Motherhood is a vocation worthy of respect more than not motherhood, okay? Unpopular opinion, I know, but I'm gonna say it anyway because the truth is that life should not just be lived for the here and now, for you, for your parties, for your travel, for whatever, for many reasons. One is it is important for us as citizens of the world to shepherd the next generation, to shepherd our society towards the future. It's important. It's not all about you. The second thing is that it makes people better to have children. And if it doesn't, you need to reevaluate yourself and reevaluate your life. Having a child reminds you what you are for, which is so much more than the silly nonsense that people can hedonistically just engage in. If you are more worried about how your body is gonna look after you have a child than having a healthy child, for example, you have your priorities wrong. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't try to be fit after you have a child, be healthy for your family, stay attractive for your husband. Of course, those are important things, but if your priority is staying hot more than having a child, clearly things are off there. Like, a woman in her 50s who's never had a child is obviously gonna look a lot different than a woman in her 50s who's had 3 or 4 children, but whose body was used for what it was supposed to be used for? I'm sorry, it's true. The only way to understand like the depth of life and maturity is to spend time around children. And theoretically, the best way to do that is to do it by having your own. I think that people who don't have children can't understand, they don't understand the world in its most meaningful sense. You just can't. You can't describe how love feels until you are carrying your own child. You can't describe how important another person's life is more than your own until you have children to look after, whether it be your own or someone else's. But these are life lessons that you can't learn if you call motherhood a choice. And this is why I'm saying I don't like the idea that motherhood is a choice, in the sense that motherhood is part of life. It's not something you could choose to do or not to do. It is a part and parcel of being a person, of being a woman. That is what I mean when I say motherhood isn't a choice. Motherhood is part of life. It's what makes people grow and become their fullest, truest selves. Now, motherhood is not all easy. And that's the thing I think that gets people, is that if you say like, oh, should I be a mother? Oh yeah, because it's so wonderful and it's so amazing. I mean, it is wonderful and it is amazing, but it's not all wonderful and amazing. And obviously it's easier when you don't have children. You can do everything on your own schedule and you can do it just because you want to. And that's not what it's like when you have kids. So it's not, motherhood and parenting is not about the fun and the joy, although it is incredibly joyful. But my issue lately with the internet and the way that we talk about motherhood is is that we have to only talk about the negatives. It makes me crazy because I'll say, as a stay-at-home mom who's home with my son and who gets to spend all day with him, like, there is nothing I'd rather be doing and there is nothing better. It really is super fun and it is great. And there's nothing that would fulfill me or bring me more meaning. I think what we get into is the idea of self-pity. We pity ourselves for how difficult day-to-day life can be as a parent and as, you know, the normal drudgery of life. And that is a terrible way to approach parenthood and a terrible way to approach motherhood. If you constantly are pitying yourself, rather than saying, you know what, everyone is going through the same thing I am. I had a hard day. Guess what? Tina down the block, she also had a hard day. Once you recognize that it's natural for life to be difficult sometimes, then you don't go into the self-pity place. You can just be like, okay, today was a little trickier than another day. And then the next day might be a lot more fun and easy. I think that when we constantly talk about motherhood like it is this absolutely awful burden, and we talk about how it's just exhausting and hard and like, God, it is so draining. Because of course, if you focus on the negative, you're gonna be negative. I had to change my perspective on this. And it was really interesting because I realized that in a way, I was focusing on the negative to prove that being a stay-at-home mom was real work, counted as hard work, so that people could take my job seriously. If I was exhausted and tired and, oh my goodness, my day was so difficult, then people would treat being a stay-at-home mom as a real job. And if I was joyful and happy and I had a great day and I got to spend time with my kiddo and it was just wonderful, then maybe people would think I was mooching off my husband or would think that my job wasn't hard. Okay, so number one, who cares what other people think? I know that there are days that are hard. And I know that there are elements of motherhood that are hard. And I know that when I keep a positive perspective on it, it's a much easier job. Like, practically, I feel like I'm having a much easier day when I view motherhood through the lens of happiness and joy. I am happy and I am joyful, and I'm so grateful for this life that I get to live, that I get to spend my mornings taking my son to an indoor play gym to play with his friends while I get to talk with the moms there and maybe chase him around and try to get him to eat. Like, yes, there's the difficult plus the beauty and the joy. So I think that it's so important for us to recognize that, like, yes, motherhood is hard. Yes, there are difficult elements, but overall it's a huge blessing. At the end of the day, I'm making this video because I want to be the one to say that motherhood is important. And it's not just a choice. And it's not just something you could choose to do as easily as you could choose to be some other career. Motherhood is a part of life, and it's an important part of life because it's an important part of growing up and being a mature person. And if you have the opportunity to be a mother and you have the opportunity to be fertile, that is the path you should be going down. There's no other way for you to become the fullest version of you if you choose to ignore it. And you can be satisfied right now doing whatever you want, living your day-to-day as easy and nice as a dink might be, double income, no kids. But at the end of the day, you won't understand the fullness of life until you become a mother, until you have children. So that is my answer to the question. Now, whether or not you take that advice, that's up to you, but that is my answer to the question. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Please leave me a comment down below, and I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye!